Montana Territory, 1875. The sweltering summer heat bore down on the small frontier town of Pine Creek as Adam O'Malley wiped the sweat from his brow, scanning the dusty horizon for the stagecoach that was now 3 days overdue. He shifted uncomfortably on the weathered bench outside the general store, his Sunday best already feeling tight and constricting in the afternoon sun. At 25, Adam had the lean, strong build of a man who spent his days breaking horses and mending fences, with gentle blue eyes that contrasted with his sun-bronzed face. "You're a fool to think any proper Eastern lady will last out here," Old Man Jenkins called from his rocking chair. "Mail-order brides get one look at Montana and hightail it back east faster than you can say frontier life." Adam forced a smile, but the words stung because they echoed his deepest fear, that love and tenderness couldn't survive in a place where the land itself seemed determined to break a person. 5 years of building his ranch alone had hardened his exterior but left him hollow inside. What use was 100 acres and a growing herd if there was no one to share it with? Still, he couldn't shake the belief that bringing someone into this harsh existence was selfish. The frontier demanded everything. It took more than it gave. "Miss Elizabeth Harrington comes highly recommended by her Boston parish," Adam replied, fingers nervously tracing the edges of her daguerreotype in his pocket. "Her letters show a woman of character." Jenkins snorted. "Character won't keep her warm when winter hits. Mark my words, boy. Frontier life breaks Eastern women. They ain't built for it." Adam stared down the empty road, the knot in his stomach tightening. Elizabeth's last letter had been full of excitement about their impending marriage. But what if Jenkins was right? What if his desire for companionship was simply selfishness, dooming a gentle woman to a life of hardship? Perhaps the solitary existence he'd carved out was all he deserved. A man who'd lost his entire family to frontier violence had no business dreaming of new beginnings. The sound of approaching hoofbeats jerked Adam from his thoughts. His heart leapt, but it wasn't the expected stagecoach, just a single rider approaching at a steady gallop. He squinted against the sun. The rider was a woman, which was unusual enough on the frontier, but even more surprising was that she rode astride rather than side saddle, her deep emerald dress hiked scandalously to her knees. She pulled her lathered horse to a stop in a cloud of dust, surveying the town with wary eyes. Adam estimated her to be around 22, with striking features framed by chestnut hair that had partially escaped its pins. Her beauty was undeniable, but there was something hard in her expression, something that spoke of survival rather than society tease. "This Pine Creek?" she asked, her voice surprisingly soft despite the steel in her eyes. "Yes, ma'am," Adam replied, standing. "Stagecoach is due any day, if that's what you're waiting for." Her lips curved in a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm not waiting for anything." She dismounted gracefully, revealing a worn leather saddlebag, and Adam blinked in disbelief, the unmistakable outline of a pistol beneath her jacket. "Name's Fiona Dalton," she said, extending a gloved hand. "I'm looking for lodging." Before Adam could respond, shouts erupted from down the street. The woman, Fiona, tensed visibly, her hand moving instinctively toward her concealed weapon. "There's a telegraph," a young boy shouted, racing toward them. Stage was robbed. 3 passengers dead. The boy skidded to a halt in front of Adam. "Sheriff says to tell you, Mr. O'Malley, Miss Harrington was among them." The world seemed to tilt beneath Adam's feet. Elizabeth dead? The future he'd tentatively allowed himself to imagine crumbled to dust. Jenkins' words echoed in his mind. The frontier took more than it gave. It had taken everything once again. "I'm sorry for your loss," Fiona said quietly, studying his face with unexpected gentleness. "She was my intended," Adam managed, his voice hollow. "Mail-order bride." "I see." Something flickered across Fiona's face. Calculation, perhaps, or opportunity. "That's unfortunate." "Truly." Sheriff Donovan appeared, his weathered face grim. "Adam, I'm sorry. Outlaws hit the stage at Eagle Pass. No survivors." He glanced at Fiona with professional suspicion. "Ma'am, you're new in town." "Just passing through," she replied smoothly. "Looking for work, actually." Adam barely heard them. 5 days ago, he'd been preparing to welcome Elizabeth into his home, to begin building something beyond mere survival. Now those dreams lay as dead as the woman he'd never met. "Mr. O'Malley owns the largest ranch hereabouts," the sheriff said, still watching Fiona carefully. Always looking for help, I understand. Is that so? Fiona turned to Adam, something unreadable in her expression. Adam looked at her, really looked. Beneath the trailed dust and wariness, he saw something familiar. The look of someone who'd learned to survive by keeping the world at arm's length. He recognized it because he saw it in his mirror every morning. I need a housekeeper, he said suddenly, surprising himself. Someone to help ready the place. I was preparing for a bride, but now. I accept, Fiona said quickly, too quickly. When do we leave? The sheriff frowned. Miss, forgive me, but you're mighty eager to go off alone with a stranger. Fiona's smile was tight. Sheriff, women without means don't have the luxury of hesitation. Mr. O'Malley offers honest work, and I need honest pay. 2 hours later, they were riding toward Adam's ranch, Fiona following behind with her own horse. Adam couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. No proper lady traveled alone in the territories, much less armed. But what did it matter? His bride was dead, and his ranch still needed tending. Fiona Dalton's secrets were her own. The next morning, Adam woke to the smell of coffee and bacon. For a disorienting moment, he thought Elizabeth had somehow arrived after all. Then reality crashed back. Elizabeth was dead, and the woman in his kitchen was a stranger with hidden depths and a concealed weapon. You cook, he observed, stepping into the kitchen of his modest but sturdy two-story home. Fiona turned from the stove, already dressed for the day in a simple blue dress that must have come from her saddlebags. I have many skills, Mr. O'Malley. Cooking is merely one of them. Adam, he corrected. If you're to be living here, we might as well use first names. She nodded, serving up a plate of eggs and bacon that looked better than anything he'd managed in years. Your home is impressive for a bachelor. Most men out here live like animals. It was meant for a family, he said quietly, the words escaping before he could stop them. My parents and sisters died in a Blackfoot raid when I was 20. I rebuilt everything thinking someday. Fiona's face softened momentarily. So you believe in second chances? Used to, he replied, stabbing at his eggs. Now I'm not sure what I believe. Over the next week, Fiona proved herself remarkably capable. She cooked, cleaned, and even helped with ranch chores without complaint. Adam caught himself watching her more than once. The way she moved with efficient grace, how she spoke little but observed everything. Each night, she retired to the small room that would have been Elizabeth's, and Adam tried not to think about the pistol he knew she kept beneath her pillow. The mystery of Fiona Dalton deepened when Adam discovered she could not only ride like a man but shoot with deadly accuracy. He found her one morning behind the barn, systematically putting holes in a row of tin cans at a distance that would impress even the most seasoned gunslinger. Where does a lady learn to shoot like that? He asked, leaning against the barn door. Fiona didn't startle, another oddity. She simply lowered the pistol and turned to face him. My father believed women should protect themselves. The world is unkind to the defenseless. Your father sounds like a wise man. He was, she said, a shadow crossing her face. Until someone killed him. The confession hung in the air between them, an unexpected intimacy. Adam felt a strange kinship with this woman who clearly carried her own burden of loss. Is that why you travel armed? He asked softly. Fiona's green eyes met his, steady and unblinking. Let's say I've learned that trust is a luxury few can afford out here. Adam nodded, understanding completely. The coffee's getting cold, he said instead of pressing further. That evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset paint the mountains gold, Adam found himself speaking of things he rarely shared. He told Fiona about finding his family after the raid, about rebuilding the ranch stone by stone, about the loneliness that had finally driven him to advertise for a bride. You're stronger than you know, Fiona said quietly when he finished. Most men would have given up. What about you? He asked. What brings a woman like you to Montana territory alone? Fiona's fingers tightened around her coffee cup. A fresh start, she said after a long pause. Isn't that what everyone seeks out here? Before Adam could respond, hoofbeats sounded in the distance. They both tensed, habits of vigilance ingrained by frontier life. A lone rider approached, and Adam recognized Levi Turner, one of his ranch hands who'd been in town. Boss, Turner called, dismounting in a hurry. There's wanted posters up in town. For a woman outlaw, they're saying she might have been connected to the stage robbery. Adam felt Fiona stiffen beside him. Turner continued, oblivious to the sudden tension. They're calling her the chestnut widow, killed 3 husbands back east, then started robbing stages out here. Sheriff says she might be in the area. Turner finally seemed to notice Fiona. Evening, Miss Dalton. Didn't see you there. What does this outlaw look like? Adam asked, his voice carefully neutral. Dark hair, they say. Green eyes. Pretty as a picture and twice as deadly. Turner shook his head. Can you imagine? A female outlaw? Times sure are changing. They certainly are, Fiona murmured, rising smoothly. If you'll excuse me, I should check on dinner. The moment she was gone, Turner leaned closer. Boss, don't mean to speak out of turn, but where'd you find this woman again? Nobody in town seems to know anything about her. She needed work, I needed help, Adam said shortly. That's all there is to it. But that night, as Adam lay awake listening to the wind, he couldn't stop thinking about the wanted poster. Chestnut hair, green eyes. A woman alone in the territories, arriving just after the stage robbery. The pistol she handled with practiced ease. It couldn't be coincidence. Yet something didn't add up. If Fiona Dalton was indeed this chestnut widow, why would she stay here, working as his housekeeper? Why not continue running? Unless she was hiding in plain sight, waiting for something. Or someone. The next morning, Adam found Fiona packing her few belongings. Going somewhere? He asked from the doorway. She didn't turn around. It's time I moved on. I've imposed on your hospitality long enough. Is it because of the wanted posters? Fiona went still, then slowly faced him. Her expression was carefully blank, but her hand hovered near where he knew she kept her weapon. What are you implying, Adam? I'm not implying anything. I'm asking directly. Are you running from the law, Fiona? For a long moment, she said nothing, just studied his face as if searching for something. Then she sighed, shoulders dropping slightly. Not in the way you think. Then tell me. The truth this time. She gestured toward the kitchen. Let me make some coffee first. This isn't a simple story. Seated at the kitchen table with steaming cups between them, Fiona finally began to speak. My real name is Fiona Dalton. That much is true. What the posters don't mention is that the man I supposedly murdered was Nathaniel Cross, leader of the Red Ridge Gang. She took a deep breath. And my husband? Adam couldn't hide his surprise. You were married to an outlaw? I was 16 when Nate found me, daughter of a struggling shopkeeper. He was charming, handsome, promised me the world. Her smile was bitter. By the time I realized what he really was, I was trapped. For 3 years, I watched him rob and kill, too terrified to leave. What changed? Adam asked softly. He killed a child during a stage robbery. A little girl, no older than 8. Fiona's voice hardened. That night, I put a bullet in him while he slept, took what money I could, and ran. His gang has been hunting me ever since. And the stage robbery here? The one that killed my intended. Fiona met his gaze directly. I had nothing to do with that. But I recognized the method. It was Nate's gang. They're still active, still looking for me. She hesitated. When I heard you'd lost your mail-order bride, I saw an opportunity to hide in plain sight. Who would look for Nate Cross's widow in a respectable rancher's home? So all this, you're working here, it was just a convenient hiding place. Adam felt a strange disappointment. At first, Fiona admitted. But then, before she could finish, the sound of multiple horses approaching cut through the morning quiet. They both moved to the window. 5 riders were coming up the path to the ranch, led by a tall man with a shock of white blonde hair. Fiona went pale. Jacob Wells, Nate's second in command. She turned to Adam, eyes frantic. He's found me. You need to let me leave, now? If they find me here, they'll kill us both. I'm not letting you face 5 armed men alone, Adam said firmly, reaching for his rifle. You don't understand. This isn't your fight. It became my fight the moment they killed Elizabeth and you walked into my life. Adam checked his ammunition. Besides, a man gets tired of losing the people he cares about. Fiona stared at him. You care about me? After what I just told you? Instead of answering, Adam moved to the window. They're splitting up, surrounding the house. We need a plan. The next hour was the longest of Adam's life. Fiona moved with the precision of someone accustomed to violence, positioning them strategically throughout the house. As they waited for Wells and his men to make their move, Adam found himself studying her face, memorizing each feature as if it might be the last time. Why did you really stay? He asked suddenly. You could have moved on weeks ago. Fiona's eyes softened momentarily. Because for the first time in years, I felt safe. Not just from them, but from, she gestured vaguely, everything. The frontier doesn't seem quite so harsh when you're not facing it alone. Before Adam could respond, a voice called from outside. Come on out, Fiona. We know you're in there. It was Wells. Send her out, mister, and maybe we'll let you live. Adam and Fiona exchanged glances. Not a chance, Adam muttered. What followed was a brutal exchange of gunfire. Wells and his men were experienced outlaws, but they hadn't counted on facing a determined rancher defending his home and a woman who knew all their tactics. Two of the gang fell quickly to Adam's rifle, while Fiona's deadly accuracy accounted for another. As the gunfight intensified, Adam realized with startling clarity that the emptiness he'd carried since losing his family was gone. In its place was something unexpected, not just the desire to survive, but to live. To build something meaningful in this harsh place, perhaps even with the fierce, complicated woman fighting beside him. The moment of revelation nearly cost him his life. A bullet splintered the window frame inches from his head, sending wooden shards flying. As he ducked, he saw Wells circling toward the back door. He's trying to flank us, Adam called. Fiona was already moving. Cover me. Before he could stop her, she slipped toward the back of the house. Adam provided covering fire, keeping the remaining outlaw pinned down. Then he heard a single shot from the back porch, followed by silence. Fiona, he called, heart in his throat. No answer. Adam moved cautiously toward the kitchen, rifle ready. The back door stood open. On the porch lay Wells, a neat hole in his forehead. But of Fiona, there was no sign, until he spotted her crumpled form against the railing, blood spreading across her side. No, Adam whispered, dropping his rifle and rushing to her. Fiona, stay with me. Her eyes fluttered open. Did I get him? You got him. They're all down. Adam pressed his bandana against her wound. Just hold on. I'll get the doctor. Too far, she whispered. Listen to me, Adam. I never meant to care about you. It wasn't supposed to happen. But these weeks here, I started to believe I could be more than Nate's widow. More than a woman running from her past. You are more, Adam insisted, cradling her against him. And you're going to live to prove it. The journey to town was a desperate race against time. Fiona slipping in and out of consciousness as Adam pushed their horses to their limits. The town doctor worked through the night, extracting the bullet and fighting infection that threatened to claim her. For 3 days, Adam refused to leave her side, holding her hand through fever dreams where she called out, sometimes in terror, sometimes whispering his name. On the 4th morning, her fever broke, and she opened her eyes with lucid clarity. You're still here, she murmured. Where else would I be? Adam replied, his voice rough from exhaustion. You should have let me go. It would have been safer. Adam shook his head. I've spent 5 years believing the frontier only takes. That love and family don't belong in a place this harsh. He squeezed her hand. I was wrong. The frontier doesn't just take. It gives second chances to those brave enough to seize them. Fiona's eyes filled with tears. Adam, I'm wanted for murder. Even if it was justified, there are posters with my face. What kind of life could we possibly have? A life we build together, he said simply. Sheriff Donovan telegraphed the authorities back east. With Wells and his gang dead, and evidence of Cross's crimes coming to light, your name will be cleared. The frontier may be hard, Fiona, but it respects justice and truth. 2 months later, on a crisp autumn morning, Fiona stood before the mirror in what was now truly her bedroom, adjusting the simple white dress Adam had ordered from Denver. Her side still ached where Wells's bullet had found her, but the pain was fading, much like the fear that had been her constant companion for so long. You look beautiful, Martha Jenkins said, pinning Fiona's chestnut hair with wildflowers. The old woman, Old Man Jenkins' wife, had taken a surprising liking to Fiona once the truth came out. Adam won't know what hit him. Fiona smiled at her reflection. The woman looking back barely resembled the frightened, hardened fugitive who'd ridden into Pine Creek that summer day. I never thought I'd wear white again. Never thought I'd want to. Life has a way of surprising us, Martha replied. Especially out here. The small church was filled with townsfolk and neighboring ranchers when Fiona walked down the aisle toward Adam. His face when he saw her was everything she'd never dared to hope for. Wonder, joy, and love so clear it brought tears to her eyes. You came to my ranch under false pretenses, Adam said during their vows, his voice carrying through the hushed church, claiming to be a housekeeper when you were running for your life. But in doing so, you saved mine. Before you, I existed. Now I live. Fiona squeezed his hands. I came to your ranch believing the frontier was just another place to hide. You showed me it could be a place to build, to grow, to love. She smiled through tears. I may not be the mail-order bride you expected, but I promise to be the wife you deserve. I think I got the better deal, Adam whispered as he leaned down to seal their vows with a kiss, to the cheers and applause of their neighbors. That evening, standing on the porch of their home, truly theirs now, Adam wrapped his arms around his wife as they watched the sunset paint the mountains gold. Do you ever think about how differently things might have turned out? He asked. If Elizabeth had lived, if you hadn't stopped in Pine Creek that day? Fiona leaned back against his chest. I think some things are meant to be, even in places as wild and unpredictable as this. You were waiting for a mail-order bride, but the frontier sent you an outlaw instead. Former outlaw, Adam corrected with a smile. Current rancher's wife and future mother of my children. Fiona turned in his arms, her expression suddenly serious. You still want that? A family, after everything you've lost. Because of everything I've lost, he replied. And everything I've found. He touched her cheek gently. The frontier takes, Fiona, but it also gives to those willing to risk their hearts. I'm done living half a life out of fear. As the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Fiona rested her head against her husband's chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. The vast Montana wilderness stretched around them, beautiful and dangerous and full of possibility. For the first time in years, she wasn't scanning the horizon for threats or planning her next escape. She was simply home. I love you, Adam O'Malley, she whispered. Thank you for waiting, even if you didn't know you were waiting for me. His arms tightened around her. I would have waited forever, Fiona. Some things are worth the wait. Together they stood, two souls who had found in each other not just survival, but belonging. Proof that even in the wildest places, love could take root and flourish against all odds.